Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the Oriental Café, a podcast where we will sit at the same table to explore the fascinating worlds of Egyptian dance, personal empowerment, and halas, life. I'm your host, Joana Saahirah, world-renowned Oriental dancer, teacher, choreographer, and author, the creator of the pioneering Joana Saahirah's World and Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School. I will meet you at the Oriental Café every 2 weeks, alone or with a guest, sharing intimate yet universal conversations. In agreement or disagreement, we will create bridges and inspire each other, because the world is only one, and so is our human soul. Ready to fall in love? Yalla bina! Self-empowerment rules I have learned from Egyptian dance. Here's episode number 16 of the Oriental Café podcast. Welcome to this amazing episode where I'm going to share something that I'm pretty sure you haven't received yet in the field of Egyptian dance and possibly in the field of self-empowerment, whatever that looks like for you. My name is Joana Saahirah. I'm your host for this podcast, and I am going to share, as usual, from direct experience. I'm going to go back to when I started studying Egyptian dance, when I moved to Egypt to start my career, to perform in Cairo, and then traveling the world, teaching, performing, lecturing, living, and what I have learned from all these years of intense engagement with the art of Raqs Sharqi and also from life. In this episode, I'm going to share a few self-empowerment principles that I believe can have a game-changing impact on your dance and, most importantly, on your life. But before we go there, let me remind you that with this particular episode, there is a gift. We are offering a special gift inside our newsletter, our podcast newsletter, and that is a free ebook called 4 Keys to Egyptian Dance and Self-Empowerment, created by yours truly. If you want that free ebook, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter and claim it in the link that I'm going to share in the description box below the video if you're watching this episode on YouTube, or in the show notes if you're listening to it on your audio podcast platforms. Last but not least, let me introduce myself, because this is particularly important for this episode. Who am I? And why am I in the perfect condition to tell you about self-empowerment according to the art of Egyptian dance? My name is Joana Saahirah, but that you already know. I started my career in Egypt, where I performed, lived, researched, studied, taught for almost 10 years of my life. I was also working and studying with Mahmoud Reda, so I say I had a double life. At night, I was performing with my orchestra at the best venues of Cairo, and in the morning, I was studying and working with Mahmoud Reda, choreographing with him, teaching with him, and enjoying the best friendship I've ever had. After those 10 years of work in Egypt, I have traveled the world at international festivals to teach, lecture, judge, perform, and also learn from dancers from all parts of the globe. Last but not least, I have written and published 3 books, and I have opened the pioneering platform and school Joana Saahirah's World and Online Dance School, where you learn authentic Egyptian, Oriental, and folkloric dance, and also self-empowerment for real. For real. If you want more information about the platform, our school, and the free goodies we offer inside our community, please check the links that I am going to share in the description box below this video or in the show notes. That's it. We got this out of the way. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast newsletter if you want to receive goodies, if you want to receive exclusive information that we're only offering inside our podcast newsletter community, and if you want to get the free ebook 4 principles for Egyptian dance and self-empowerment that I'm only going to offer inside our podcast newsletter. All the information on how to get to those places, our newsletter and the ebook, you already know where. Description box or show notes. Now, let's dive into the rules of self-empowerment that I have learned, sometimes in the hardest way, from Egyptian dance, what people insist on calling belly dance, whatever that means. So we're talking about Raqs Sharqi, dance of the East, Egyptian Oriental dance, and we're also talking about a specific effect or effects this dance can have if properly taught. There are many ways of learning Egyptian dance, and I don't believe one is better than the other. You can learn it in a gym to lose weight superficially, and in that case, kudos for you. Have fun, lose that weight doing Egyptian dance. You can go to festivals and memorize choreographies and leave the festival convinced that you're a great dancer because you know a couple of choreographies. You can do whatever you want, and I honestly think that every kind of engagement with this dance is positive. There is no way you're going to get out of it worse than you entered, right? But there is another level of engagement with this dance, and there is another level of benefits. And this is where self-empowerment comes into the place. Now, what does self-empowerment mean? Let's start there. And let me take a sip of my tea. Self-empowerment begins with the understanding that there is power within. Empowered means power within. Self means you create that power within. You generate that power within. You don't put the responsibility of your confidence, creativity, orientation, strength, resilience, you name it. You don't put the responsibility of those qualities on the hands of other people. You say, I am going to create those qualities for me. I'm going to embody them. I am going to create the conditions so that I am more creative. I am more grounded. I am stronger. I'm more resilient. I'm more courageous. I have the power to innately create those features or qualities. That's what self-empowerment means. Basically, it's responsibility over yourself and responsibility over your dance and life, which also means power over yourself, power over the dance and the life you wish to create. Now, what have I learned from Egyptian dance in regards to self-empowerment? First things first, I have learned the concept of uniqueness. Nobody is you, and that is your power. I'm sure you heard this before, but sometimes we misunderstand it. What does it mean? Nobody is you, and that is your power. It certainly doesn't mean you are better than others. It certainly doesn't mean that you are unique, but others are common. No, it means that you are unique and so is everybody else. So there is no comparison to be had. There is no competition. And what works for you may not work for others because, let me repeat, you are unique and so is everybody else. This is important to stress because when I teach this concept to students in my private coaching, in my professional mastermind, at my school these days, what I often find is a confusion between owning your uniqueness, dancing and living from a place of identity. Who am I? How do I do this my own way? And the kind of arrogance that tends to tell you, you are the best. You are number one. You are better than everybody else. By the way, everything is arguable, right? Are you a better dancer than your colleague? Is Suher Zeki a better dancer than Nagwa Fouad? Is Fifi Abdu better than Aza Sharif? Who knows? For you, Suher Zeki may be number one. Or Dina. For me, it can be terrible. And nobody is the owner of the truth, especially when we're talking about art. So this is not about being the best, being better than. It's quite the opposite. I am not better, neither worse than anybody else. I'm just different because I have a specific fingerprint I was born with, and nobody but me has that fingerprint. This is a fact. This is not subjective. It is not an opinion. It is not open for discussion. It is a fact that I was born with a specific fingerprint, specific physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual characteristics, a specific creative channel, a specific perspective on the world, on music, on movement. Again, it doesn't make me better than others, it makes me different. And different is powerful. I do know that most of us want to be accepted, and so many dancers are trapped into the need to be followed, to be liked, to be accepted, to be approved of. But that's a disempowered place to be. Yes, we are social beings and we need each other. And yes, it's wonderful if someone loves what I do, they appreciate my dance, they see me. My God, it's the best, right? I've gone through a huge part of my career performing and also teaching. I depend on people's approval and love so much, but only until a certain point. Primarily, I have to know who I am, what I'm doing, and do it from a place of integrity and identity. There will be people who love it. There will be people who hate it. There will be people who ignore it. And I have to be confident and grounded enough to be okay with all of that. A compliment is just an opinion, and a critic is just an opinion. They do not inform me about my value, about who I am, or about the value of my dance. I have to inform myself if I am moving from my uniqueness, from my unique fingerprint. So learn everything you can learn with others. I love learning and I'm a huge student. Primarily, I'm a student. You have no idea, I'm a very good student. More than a teacher, more than a performer or an author, I am a student. I pay attention. I am genuinely interested in what others can teach me. But in the end of the day, baby, in the end of the day, when all is said and done, and I have gathered all the information from others, all the inspiration, make no mistake, I'm going to do things my way. I did it my way. Yes, I did, and I do, and I hope you will too. It rhymed. Oh my God. Got it? That's the first principle of self-empowerment that I learned from Egyptian dance that changed everything for me because it gave me the freedom to dance, to exist, to live according to my own rules, my taste, my perspective. I'm not looking at my neighbor's garden and checking what are they doing, how are they doing it. Let me tell you one thing. Inside Joana Saahirah's online dance school, we have a passionate, engaged, and beautiful community of dancers. But I am fully aware, and I have been told by some of those dancers that they're there to check how I do things, when I do them, where, which way, so they can copy it in their own work. I have been told that to my face. Now, I welcome everyone, even copycats. If you are inside my school and my platform, you are loved and you are welcome. But if you ask me, that's not the right reason to be in a school, to be in a platform, to see how people do things and then copy them. No. Learn from me. If you feel I have something to teach you, the same way I learn from others, but in the end of the day, do it your way. Do we have a deal? I hope we do. The second principle of self-empowerment I learned from Egyptian dance is the ability to focus on my empowered territory as opposed to my disempowered territory. Let me explain what this means. Very often, especially in the context of private coaching, I have asked my students, what are the resources you have going on for you? What are your strengths? What are your talents, your best qualities? What can you use in your dance and in your life that will make them so much better? Coming from within, what are the gifts you carry within, and what are the resources, inner and exterior resources you can use to evolve in your dance and in your life? And you know what? I'm shocked how often incredible, talented, intelligent, creative dancers don't know how to answer that question. They will tell me everything they're not and everything they don't have. I'm not experienced enough. I'm not knowledgeable enough. I'm not creative enough. I don't have enough time. I don't have financial help. I don't have a place to perform. I am not, I don't have. I am not, I don't have. They get stuck in their disempowered territory. The things they're not, or the things they think they're not, and the things they do not have, or the things they presume they do not have, instead of focusing on their empowered territory. What do you have? Who are you right now? What are the qualities and the resources, inner and exterior resources you have at this moment? Perhaps you don't have financial support for a project, but you have someone who can take care of your kids while you work on your dance. That's a resource. Perhaps you don't have as much experience as you would like to have, but you are extremely creative and you can use what you know in very original ways. Perhaps you are tired and you feel you don't have enough energy, but you are so intelligent that you can manage the little bit of energy that you have in a very wise and productive manner. In life, as in dance, there will always be things we're not and things we don't have. Okay, I don't have patience. I'm not a patient person. That's not a personal resource that I naturally have. I can work on it. That's another question, but I don't have that. What do I have? I am extremely creative. I'm gonna use that. That's a resource. What else I don't have? I don't have a huge technical team or a very good, very strong technical expert helping me to record my classes, my videos, edit my material. I don't. What do I have? I have the content to compensate for the lack of technical and technological expertise. My content is worth 1,000 technicians, 1,000 helpers in technology and machines. So I'm gonna juice the content. I'm gonna juice hell out of it. What do I have? I have my resilience. I have my focus. I have my passion. I have my experience. I have my knowledge. I have my vision. So I am going to focus on everything I am and everything I have, and work with those resources, internal resources and external resources, to make the best out of my dance and life, as opposed to focusing on what I am not and what I do not have. Rest assured, it's more comfortable to focus on what you are not and what you don't have, because that gives you excuses not to do what you know you ought to do. So we get into victimhood land. I'm not doing it because I don't have enough help. I'm not doing it because I'm not knowledgeable enough. I'm not doing it because I don't think I'm that creative. We justify procrastination. We justify the cowardice of not going for the things that you know in your heart you want to go for. And when you tap into your empowered territory, the opposite happens. Suddenly, you're out of excuses. If I focus on what I am and what I have, as opposed to focusing on what I am not and what I don't have, I run out of excuses. So I actually have to do the deed. I have to put myself out there in terms of dance, in terms of life, and make my stuff happen with the resources I have at my disposal. And believe me, having a lot of resources does not mean you're going to make better. I have met dancers with a little knowledge and very few experience who have done better stuff than dancers who are very experienced and knowledgeable. Quantity is not always quality. And yes, it's great to have inner and outer resources to work with, but your life and your dance, believe me, don't depend on them. Sometimes less is more. That's your second rule of self-empowerment according to Egyptian dance. And of course, I am going to invite you to share with me your rules of self-empowerment. What empowers you? What makes you strong? What makes you grounded and brave? I want to learn from you. Make sure you drop your comments below this episode. Make sure you teach me the same way I'm hopefully teaching you in this episode. This is an exchange. I want to learn from you too. Now, let's move forward. There is another huge self-empowerment lesson that I learned from Egyptian dance techniques, specifically from performing. And that is a balance between control and surrender. During all the years I was performing in Egypt, in particular, I had a chance to really dive into the art of performance. I was performing with Egyptians, for Egyptians, most of the time, every day. I hardly had a day off. I took vacation 1 year to India. For 10 years, I was on vacation for 3 weeks, going to India. That's it. Otherwise, I would be working all the time. And that gave me a lot of insights into what makes a great Egyptian dance performance and basically what makes exceptional Egyptian dance. And here's one thing I discovered. There is a lot of it that has to do with controlling, knowing exactly what I do, getting into my masculine polarity, making decisions, being extroverted, being assertive, managing the orchestra, that means managing the music, being the boss, and really having control over the performance and what's happening, but also having moments when I surrender, I let go of control, and I allow things to go as they may. And I don't know how they're going to work. I don't know where I'm going to end up in, but I don't care. I noticed that as a performer, that created moments of magic that constant control could never create. I also noticed that the same applied to life. We like to be in control because we're afraid of the feeling of not having control over things. Who knows if I'm not controlling the process 100% of the time, where I'm going to end up, what's going to happen. So let me control. We tend to control too much, and we don't trust life, and we don't trust other people. We don't let go. And when we do that, we rob ourselves of the magic of the life flow. That is true on stage as a dancer, and that is certainly true in life. A balance between control and surrender, knowing when I have to control the situation and decide how things are going to be done, and when I let go and I say, let's see where this will take me. Knowing the difference between the moment when I need to control and the moment when I need to surrender is essential for an exceptional Egyptian dance performance and also for life. Let me know if you are a control freak. I'm curious because I was a control freak. And it took me a long time to learn the meaning of surrender. I don't even mention applying surrender. I mean, understanding what it means. It took me years before I understood. Surrender, letting go, what does that mean? I'm going to be passive? I'm not going to do anything about it? No, not me. I am a powerful woman. That was my position. That was my attitude for most of my adult life. And then I understood, wait a second, there is power in allowing myself to be taken by the current every once in a while. Interesting. So now I have to identify when I should be in control, in charge, and when I should let go and see where the ocean will take me. That was a game changer in my dance and certainly in my life. Another thing I learned in terms of self-empowerment through Egyptian dance has to do with the power of the heart. Not in the romantic sense, but in the sense that if I make decisions through my heart or filtered by my heart, usually those decisions will move the needle in my dance and in my life. They will take me to important evolution stages in my life. All the great, most daring decisions I've done in my life, and there were so many, happened through the heart. I had to feel, do I really want this in my heart? Does my heart rejoice, sing, dance when I think about doing this or that? Having your decision-making process go through the heart is, once again, a game changer in terms of self-empowerment and also in terms of the quality of the results that you get. We make decisions every day. And of course, not all the decisions I make happen through the heart. I mean, I don't decide if I'm gonna eat banana or peach at breakfast through the heart, because that's not an important enough decision. But when I have an important decision to make, in my dance or in my life, I always ask my heart, what makes sense here, right? What would you want me to do? What is the way? What is the direction? And the heart always knows, and it always takes you where you're meant to arrive. Does this sound too woo-woo? Perhaps it does, but I'm just gonna invite you to give it a try. Next time you have an important decision, consult with your heart. Imagine that your heart is a coach and say, heart, I need your help. Help me to decide where to go. Should I do this? Should I go in this direction? Should I say yes or no? And the heart knows. I hope you have the courage to follow its lead. Now, what else do we have? I am going to remind you, before we move forward, to claim your free ebook, 4 Rules of Egyptian Dance and Self-Empowerment. It's a great ebook I created for our community, and you only have access to it when you're inside our beautiful podcast newsletter. So once again, don't forget, at the end of the episode, to check the link to claim your ebook and join our podcast newsletter. Okay? Deal. Now, what do we have? We have a very polemic self-empowerment point, which is sensuality. Let's go back there. Oof. It's always a hot topic. People get very fiery and passionate around the topic of sensuality. Let me go back to the basics again. What the hell is sensuality? Right? Because if we don't know what we're talking about, we cannot make sense of this conversation. If I'm talking about potatoes and you think I'm talking about tomatoes, this is not going to work. So let's redefine what I mean by sensuality. Okay? Sensuality is the ability to enjoy myself to the fullest. In a very simple way, that's what sensuality truly means. I know I have the birthright to enjoy myself as much as possible, as long as I'm not hurting anyone. And that means I'm going to enjoy my dance to the fullest for me, not for others. Okay, that's seduction. When I do it for others, I'm seducing. I'm using the dance to create an effect on another person. That's seduction. Sensuality is a full closed circle. I do it for me. I don't do it for another person. I'm enjoying myself for the sake of myself and my own birthright to pleasure. That's sensuality, okay? And of course, that is a trigger. It's fascinating and it's scary because most of us presume in the back of our mind that a woman is not supposed to enjoy herself. She's supposed to serve others and to please others and to seduce others. She's not supposed to put herself in the first place. This is one of the reasons why Egyptian dance is so controversial and so fascinating, but also disturbing to a lot of us from the east to the west. We are triggered, we are nervous around an Oriental dancer, and we're not sure why. One of the reasons why we're nervous and we don't know what to do around this energy, it's because we're talking about sexual vitality, kundalini energy, moving in a woman's body for the sake of her pleasure. And that goes against everything we have been taught about the role and the purpose of a woman. You're here to give pleasure to others. You're here to take care of others. You're here to seduce others. You're here to please others. You're not here to please yourself. That's what we have been told, directly or indirectly. And Egyptian dance questions and goes against that assumption. Egyptian dance tells us, you know what? I may choose to seduce others or not. I may choose to please others and take care of others and support others or not. I may choose to please others or definitely not. But I can primarily choose to please myself and to have fun for myself and to enjoy myself for the sake of myself. How crazy is that? And that's sensuality. I have learned this from the practice of Egyptian dance from the beginning. Oh God, this was one of the first things that awakened in me, this certainty that sensuality was my birthright. When I first started to study Egyptian dance, it didn't take me much to realize this was a huge gift. And why is it connected to self-empowerment? That's the question. Because sensuality is about having fun and having pleasure in life. And that's a strategy for survival and thriving. If I don't know how to enjoy myself, and I know this is going to sound way too simple, but simplicity is often gold. So hear me out. If I don't have the ability to enjoy myself while I'm dancing, while I'm breathing, while I'm eating, while I'm working, while I'm recording this episode here for you, and I'm enjoying myself. I don't know if you can feel it, but damn, I can feel it, right? If I don't have the ability to grab this cup of tea, bring it to my lips, Allah, and enjoy the pleasure of feeling that tea coming into my mouth, and oh my God, if I am not able to enjoy this, I am robbing myself of enthusiasm, resilience, faith, passion, and the fire that will keep me going when things are pleasant and they're nice, but especially when things are terrible, hard, filled with loss, disappointment, sadness. We need tools of survival and thriving to get us through the pleasant times and the hard times. And sensuality, believe me, trust me on this, is one of those tools. If I can enjoy myself for my own sake, even in the middle of the worst situation, I can still grab a cup of coffee and have a moment of pleasure, a glimpse of hope, a glimpse of joy. I can still look at the sunset and say, you know what, it's worth to be here. It's a hard time now, but it's worth to be here. I'm going to tell you a story. You know I love stories. And it's a little bit shocking, but it's true, so it is powerful. While I was performing in Egypt, I had an abusive boyfriend. And when I mean abusive, I mean emotionally and physically abusive. I reported him. I got myself a lawyer. I went to the police station. I mean, everything. And basically I was left at, I was a woman, point number 1. I was a foreigner, point number 2. I was unmarried, point number 3. And the worst, I was a ra'asa. I was an Oriental dancer. So basically they told me, what do you expect us to do? And what do you expect? You are this garbage. You deserve to get beaten. You deserve this violence. Good luck. That's what I got from the lawyer, from the police. That meant I was threatened, I was beaten, and sometimes I would go to work with bruises all over my body that I covered with makeup. At the lowest, hardest time during that period, I remember that I sat with my musicians after a long night of work. They were rehearsing. I disconnected a little bit from the rehearsal. My assistant brought me a cup of tea with milk and honey, like I like. I breathed deeply, listened to my musicians playing their music, and took a moment to assess all the beautiful, pleasurable things that I had at my disposal. That cup on my hand, that cup of tea, sweet, velvety on my hand, the music my musicians were producing during the rehearsal, my assistant's hand on my hand, tender, maternal, loving, supportive, the air that I breathed, the Nile in front of me. That gave me strength to continue, to persevere, and to say, you know what, this too shall pass. And while it's happening, I'm going to have the best possible time. I cannot get into a negative place. I cannot allow this experience to swallow me. I'm going to grab myself to all the pleasures I have available, and I'm going to not only survive this experience, but I'm going to get out of it stronger and better than ever. That's the power of sensuality. Now, I know this was a strong moment, and feel welcome to share your sensual awakening experiences with me. Again, I love to hear from you. Drop a comment in the comments area and let me know if you ever had a sensual awakening and the impact it had on your dance and your life. Last but not least, Egyptian dance has shown me a very important self-empowerment tool, which is the awareness there is a visible and an invisible world. That is true of our dance, and that is certainly true of our life. In my first published book, The Secrets of Egypt, and I'm going to share the reference to my books in the show notes and in the description box below the video, I wrote about the invisible dance. At the time, a lot of folks, even dancers I respected, wrote telling me, you are nuts. What the hell did you publish? What is that invisible dance? Are you crazy? Now, the same who criticize me are using that concept. You are welcome. Mwah. What is the concept? I noticed, once again on stage, that dancers had a physical and an energetic impact. That they managed, knowingly or not, their physical and their energetic bodies. As a judge of other dancers in Egypt and in festivals, I often caught myself attracted not necessarily to the best technical dancer, but to the dancer who was emanating the most magnetic, light, energetic vibe. And I wondered, wow, is this that important, energy? Because I am picking a dancer over another because of her energy. What is here? As a performer, I understood that I work with my physical body. That's everything you can see. My posture, my movements, the lines, the patterns, the colors. But I also move with my energy, my energetic self, my energetic life. What is that? My aura, the energy that pours from within and the energy that surrounds me, my thoughts, my sensations, my memories, my emotions, my intention, why I'm doing what I'm doing. All of that is energy. And believe me, it speaks. And it speaks louder than you think. When you become aware of this, you start to take care of your physical body and you start to take care of your energetic body. What does that mean? It means your dance and your life improve. There is no way they will not improve. If I'm taking care of my physical reality and my energetic reality, if I'm uplifting both, if I'm making both up, I'm bringing them up, baby. I'm creating a sharp, gorgeous, rich physical movement, but also an inspired, loving, magnetic, energetic movement. I am unstoppable. I am unstoppable. In dance as in life, realize you are a physical body and you are energy. The way you work with both and the way you uplift both will change the experience you have in your dance and in your life. And this is the last rule of self-empowerment that I'm sharing in this episode within the context of Egyptian dance. Now, once again, let me tell you this. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself if you have been studying Egyptian dance for a long time and perhaps you never knew about the things I've just shared. You never noticed or you weren't told. Once again, there is no better or worse way of learning Egyptian dance. There are different ways, and it depends how much you want to take from the experience. Do you want to lose weight? Lose weight. Do you want to just have fun? Have fun. Do you want to be known and gather likes and gather attention? Great. Do your thing. Remember the first rule of self-empowerment? Own your uniqueness. Own your unique fingerprint. Do your thing. But if you want to take more from this art form, and if you want to use it for magical purposes, and for real, practical self-empowerment, this is it. The beginning is in this episode. So I'm going to invite you to stop comparing yourself to others. Stop competing. Own your unique fingerprint and apply the principles of self-empowerment I have shared in this episode. I am going to invite you once more to claim your free ebook, 4 Keys or Rules to Self-Empowerment in Egyptian Dance and in Life. I will invite you to claim that free ebook by following the link that I'm sharing in the show notes or in the description box below this video. Last but not least, make sure you join the podcast newsletter. If you want to have access to upcoming episodes with me and with fabulous guests, and you know I only pick the best. Okay, let's get this straight. The guests I bring into my podcast are special people with whom I would gladly sit down and have coffee with for hours. So these are special folks that you cannot miss. If you want to know about them, and if you want to receive exclusive content from my guests and from me, content I only share inside our podcast newsletter, you have no other way but subscribing to it. All the information in the description box below this video or in the show notes if you're listening to this episode on the podcast platforms. Last but not least, rate the podcast in the podcast platforms. It's super important. Like it, share it, comment on it, offer it the love that you are receiving. This podcast is created with so much passion, so much work, and sometimes sacrifice for you, for free. Give your love back by rating it at the podcast platforms, following it, liking it, sharing it, and commenting on it. This is it. I am going to see you soon at our next episode of the Oriental Café podcast with another very special guest. You're gonna love this one. I'm sure it's a she, is going to inspire so many people. OMG. I cannot wait to share it with you. I will see you and perhaps dance with you soon. Until then, all my love and my usual kiss. Mwah.